Hello and welcome to the AMPLIFY Show. I'm Emily Raquette, former TV news reporter turned media entrepreneur. I've spent my entire career shining a spotlight on inspiring people doing incredible things. In each episode, I share an interview or message to help you amplify your business and your life. Thanks for joining me and get ready to amplify. Hello, everyone. As we're coming to an end of the first month of a new year, I hope you're still finding momentum and staying on track with all of your plans. And if you're looking for a more efficient way to get all those ideas and to-dos out of your head and into a streamlined system or plan, then today's podcast is for you. I'm interviewing Lauren Cash. She's the co-founder of Monday Hour One. It's something I first learned about from the Life Coach School with Brooke Castillo, and as you know, I'm always interested in trying new ways to develop efficiencies in my daily and weekly planning and to better juggle all the things in business, motherhood, and life. So I gave this concept a try for a couple weeks already, and I'm still working on implementing all of it. It's really a fully digital planning system, and I currently still use a physical planner as well as my Google Calendar. So it's hard to let go of all of it and make that entire switch over. But I've started implementing this Monday Hour One strategy, and I find it really closely tied to time blocking. Time blocking has really helped me go from working 35 hours a week to just about 5 or 6. And what I love most about Monday Hour One is that it forces you to get everything out of your head and to calendar it. And once you do that, I find it's really freeing to not have to worry about it again because you know it's already on your calendar. So you don't have to spend your days thinking, oh, when am I going to get to that one task I've been avoiding, or the workout I wanted to squeeze in, or that project I promised my kids I'd do, because you calendar everything, not just your important appointments. You literally carve out time for everything that matters to you. So that includes your free time and your self-care. And it can feel a little tedious at first, I'll admit, going through this and building it out in the beginning, but it really does give you a lot of freedom. And like I said, I'm still tweaking this process for myself a bit, but overall, I'm really liking it. So let's dive in. And like always, if you enjoy this interview, please screenshot and share over on Instagram, tag me so I can see it and we can chat over there. Here we go.
Thanks so much for having me.
Tell me a little bit about how you got started, a bit of your background, pre-launching Monday Hour One, and how that led you to, coming up with this entire system.
Yeah, so I actually was a dietitian and eating disorder dietitian when I discovered Brooke's podcast, The Life Coach School. And then I quickly became completely fascinated and wanted to become a coach because I have a master's in psychology as well. And I ended up working for the school as part-time customer support as I was building my private practice. And I fell in love with all of the tools at the school, and I ended up as an employee for the school. And I essentially, for Monday Hour One, the origin story is I took 2 of Brooke's programs in Self-Coaching Scholars, combined them together and made a calendaring system from her teachings in order to basically, quote unquote, survive working for Brooke Castillo because she was very demanding and I had to get over my perfectionism to keep up with her. So this helped me create that system, and then she ended up adding more to it, and then Tyson also added some things to it. And so we created this whole Monday Hour One system from different tools and coming together and creating it so that even her team could use it. And then she has it a part of her entrepreneurial management system too for managing teams. And it became a much bigger thing even from this original idea. But I've always been obsessed with planners, calendars, systems, seeing how things are working ineffectively and making them better. So that's where all the calendaring skills came into play as well.
Yeah, well, for people who are unfamiliar, and we'll do kind of the bird's eye view of it in a moment, but Monday Hour One is essentially a digital program as far as how you plan. You do not need to buy a fancy box full of different papers and hole punches and planners and binders and folders, which that intrigued me because, like you, I've always loved planners as well, but I find that they can become very distracting.
Yes.
I want to switch them up every couple months. It's hard to find the perfect one that works for you. So I was pretty excited about a digital process But walk us through just the bird's eye view of it.
Yeah. So essentially you do what we call a to-do list download during Monday hour 1, or the first hour of your week, or the hour you want to plan your week, and get everything out of your mind and onto paper that you want to do for the week. Then you decide how long you're going to give each thing. And then you put everything on your digital calendar, including focus time. That's what we call the time where you're going to do really deep work and complete things and get results, which essentially throughout your whole calendar should be results oriented. And then you follow your calendar, and then you're done. And then you celebrate at the end of the week everything that you completed and go on to the next Monday hour 1. That's like the idealistic view of what happens with Monday hour 1.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of a setup time the first time you're implementing this, because you have to figure out, I use Google Calendar. And ideally, for me, it made sense if each week had some of the same time blocks. It's really, it's like a lot of time blocking, right?
Yeah. It is. It's just it's a version of using time blocking with some of Brooke's other tools, and some other tools that come from like digital minimalism and Cal Newport's work. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. Yeah. Like a lot of that is infused in it. That's where focus time comes from, is really his deep work book and all of that. And, yeah. The other thing, you had said something about the like Google Calendar setup. Oh yeah. So time blocking. So I have created what I call the anatomy of a calendar that gives a general, like for most people, here are some of the common blocks that you will have that you want to think about. For example, one of them is like a communication block. When are you going to answer emails, do Slack if you're on Slack for your company or whatever other platforms you have? When are you doing those things rather than multitasking all day long, just being pinged? When are you going to get those done? When are you going to have meetings? When are you going to do your deep work? When are you going to have client sessions or whatever else?
Yeah, 100% understand and believe in that model. It's really hard to implement though, when we've been programmed for so many years to be distracted and to pick up our device anytime we're bored, or have, we can multitask as we're doing other things. Funny you mentioned Cal Newport, because I've just been listening to more of his podcasts and picking up some of his books that I haven't read. And he talks a lot about this. It's like, you're retraining your mind to be okay with that stillness in different sections of your day. But as someone a planner lover, do you find it hard to now release the planner? I find it hard to only rely on then my phone calendar to execute Monday hour 1. So what do we do about the people that we really still love the pen and paper? Do you find you're satisfied by creating that list making in that first hour of the week?
I honestly, and I don't even do that anymore. So I'm like purely digital now, and never even have to like write that down unless I'm truly like having a hard time managing my mind, and then I will use it. So I'm purely digital now, but I haven't always been. So I used to be just physical calendar all of the time, would buy it every year, would plan out all of my graduate courses in it. And then from there, I got to a hybrid. So for years, then I was a hybrid, had the planner digitally and physically, and had a system for that I was always perfecting. And then when I learned Brooke's work, I was able to get fully digital, especially as I also was working on applying minimalism. That really helped me to understand why maybe keeping it all digital would be helpful. And what I find is, if you just do it as like a challenge for, let's say, like 90 days to just do it purely on the digital platform, you'll start to see how it actually is more effective and speeds you up, because you have recurring events and you have so many things that are commonly recurring, and you just need to adjust the squares on the computer rather than writing things down all of the time. It ends up being more effective. And so that can sell people on why they want to stay in digital land. I have clients too that like the physical form, so they don't mind printing off something every week. And so they'll print it off, and they like checking it off still. They love that like motion of checking it off. So they'll just check it off like from a physical printout.
I think I might be able to get there as far as the calendar is concerned. if I'm still doing some form, I have a daily morning. It's like a 3-minute journaling habit I do to get clarity in the morning. And that, I believe, like pen and paper is just better.
And I still do that for my thought work and my like inner work. That's where I keep the pen and paper. Yeah.
Do you get really micro on all the different calendars you can utilize in Google and the colors or do you just you have one calendar and maybe you just swap out colors for your time blocks, or do you have a different calendar for each time block you can turn on and off? And I mean, you can really go deep into that.
Yeah. So I really like, different calendars, but I don't do it for different types of things so much as having it as different I call them like calendar layers for different people I want to be able to give permissions to. It's more of like my personal life and then my work life. And then I also have like a Lauren time blocking layer that I can turn on and off. And then I'm not sharing that with my team. They just have like the hard meeting client session things that they're seeing that they have shared with them. So I have a whole system of like calendar layers and permissions that I do.
Yeah. And I was starting to get to that layer, and the first person I invited to see my calendar then was my husband. And one night he's just like, I opened your calendar and my mind just exploded. I don't know how you can have all that stuff on your calendar. And I was like, I know, but I think once I get it right, once I figure this out, it's supposed to give me more freedom. Like, I think I'm almost there. And he's like, I don't know. I just turned it back off because I could tell it just like stressed him out.
Yeah. And I think there's some reworking and retooling to do mindset wise about like, what does something mean on your calendar and the calendar block? We are programmed to think that when there are things on the calendar that we're essentially like quote unquote busy, but it doesn't mean that we don't have things that we're doing or creating throughout the day. Right now, if you're not using a calendaring system like that and it's blank, like let's say it would be blank, it's not like you're not doing anything during that time. You just haven't put a name to it on the calendar. So there's sort of this reworking the mindset around it. Like when I look at my calendar with all the layers on, I never have the thought of like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, it's too much. I'm like, oh good, it's like all there.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. There are two ways to look at that. And also, I think there's a whole module that you dive into in the program about how it really does create the permission that some people need to not do anything. And that needs to show up on your calendar as well. And I remember the first week I was implementing this. I was like, oh, I want to do yoga later. I want to read. I forget what it was. And I remember I looked at my calendar. I'm like, oh, I actually saved I have like a whole 2-hour pocket here in the evening to just do whatever. And so knowing that that was there for me felt really good. And it helped me realize, okay, take a deep breath. I'm not restrained today. Like I have built in pockets of time. I think this can be really helpful for a lot of people that have experienced massive shift in their day or their weekly schedule in this past year. The people that have gone from working in offices are now working at home, especially people that with kids at home that now also have these lessons, Zoom lessons and things that they were juggling. And for me, I went from working a pretty solid 30 to 40 hour work week outside of the home to now I'm limited to maybe 5 to 6 hours a week at home and homeschooling and doing all those things. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me that a program like this could really help me get clear, because I really do need to leverage every free pocket of time I have and make sure it's moving me forward.
Yeah. So it comes up all the time, right? When you're a time coach or you focus on this kind of coaching, folks that really need you, their same problem as to why they need you is why they won't join. So with this, you're like, I'm too busy. I have too much going on. COVID's been too wild or whatever else has been going on in the shifts in my life. Like there's no way I could be able to apply this new program. But that's the whole reason why you could benefit from a program like this. And it's going to help you slow down, which you're not going to be sold on, slow down to strategize, to then eventually speed up and be more effective and get the results that you're wanting to get in your life, whether it be homeschooling the kids or getting work done in 5 hours a week rather than 40 or whatever it is. This is what will help you create that for yourself, but you need that time to be able to, and that investment to be able to slow down, to have the strategic bird's eye vision, to then get your game plan together to carry out that strategy. So as we said in like the Monday Hour One podcast we recorded, launching that, it's like you're pedaling so fast on a bicycle and you're trying to go really fast somewhere. And we're like, hey, get off of the bike. We have a Tesla here with a GPS, and you are just there pedaling, thinking you know where you're going, but you don't really know where you're going. Well, you get off the bike for a sec to get in, learn how to drive a Tesla and use the GPS. You're going to get there so much faster. But really selling you on that is difficult if you're like stuck in the, no, but I'm working so hard on my bicycle.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest hangups for me was just figuring out when you take your hour, which for me felt better on like a Sunday evening to look ahead to my week, because Monday morning I already got to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I like to just go to bed with my plan, is what you do when unexpected things come up. Kids and stuff, so much depends on their moods or how the day's going, how well people slept the night before, or if they ate. And that part of it, what do you do when it starts to get thrown off a little? I feel like now I got to open my calendar and start moving a bunch of blocks everywhere.
Yeah. So I talk about this in like some Instagram live trainings too that I have. And it comes up a lot, especially around those like caring for other people or people with certain jobs that are a little bit more responsive to maybe a boss or a coworker or something like that in a team. And it means that you probably just haven't been planning on that reality. So like for you, are you planning on the extra buffer room, or what we call in Monday Hour One, like the overflow time, or I call in my program like margin in your day, so that it can contain that you also are homeschooling and being a mother throughout your day? So you do have that wiggle room to be able to move things and shift them a little bit and be more lenient there, not because you're procrastinating or because you're believing you can't get the things done in the day, but just because there will be things that come up, of course, because you have kids at home. So where does that go? Are you planning on that? And there are some ways that you can do that depending on your situation, naming those things, like making sure you have communication time, or like if you always know that your boss is going to have like extra assignments for you that you hadn't planned on for the week, like plan that in when you're going to handle those things in the day.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of having to foreshadow what could go wrong early in the week and plan your buffer time around that.
Yeah. And then I love, like I send some of my clients like this field notes notebook of, we're just always taking field notes to update what we need to add in. So as you notice the patterns, then you can add that into sort of your like overall anatomy of a calendar template, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I had a business coach that would always say, like, whatever matters to you, well, let me see your calendar. Where is it on your calendar? Yeah. And I love that Monday Hour One does make you think about that. I have a goal of getting outside every day with the kids or for a walk. And it's like, okay, that's a perfect thing that I never would put on my calendar. I would go every day, just wake up without a clue when or where that walk was happening. Maybe some days I'd have an idea, but it makes the most sense to be proactive at the start of the week and have all your walks planned out. I would say you're putting everything on except for your bathroom breaks almost, right? It feels a little tedious at some point. Can you overdo it have you seen people that kind of overdo it and then it doesn't work? There's like a sweet spot there.
Yeah, for some people, and it depends on the people, right? It depends on different personalities or different whatever personality thing that you're into, or not personality, but like if you're in the woo, like human design, like it depends on your programming too, like what's going to work for you. So being open to experiment and figure out, are you the type of person that likes more of the nitty gritty, or are you the type of person that likes more of your big rocks, kind of Stephen Covey, like the main priorities on there, and then the rest you're going to figure out. And I like to do it where I teach folks to kind of do it to the extreme of like very detailed, to really understand, almost time audit where everything's going, and doing that for the first while. And then they can start, as they master it, figure out like, okay, now this morning routine is just ingrained in me. I do it all the time. I don't need to calendar the whole thing. I know that happens. That's what I do. I don't even calendar that anymore. And so I just know that that's my routine and it's not a problem. I don't need to calendar it. So then you can go into mastery of knowing where to use the tool and when.
So you don't put a morning routine time chunk on your day?
Not anymore. I used to, and I used to break it down very specifically, like 10 minutes of thought downloads and then, read this book and this many pages and whatever. And then now I just know I always do a morning routine and I do what I want to do during that time.
What are you doing now? Are you still working with the life coach school, but you and also run your own business?
Yeah, so I'm primarily in my own company. It's called Vivere Co. Vivere means to be fully alive. So I'm super excited to help folks with that, especially as they're scaling their businesses. So right now I'm pivoting my niche a little bit and we're helping folks scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures, business owners and also those working closely with them. And obviously time management is a huge part of that. And I do still teach coach certification for the Life Coach School. And I love teaching brand new coaches to become coaches as well.
Yeah, fun. It's just like people that get ingrained in Brooke's ecosystem there have a hard time leaving. They just...
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of impact that can be made there. That's great. Well, where can we learn more about Monday Hour One? And if we want to, just start testing this entire method.
Yeah, so if you want to take Monday Hour One, the course is available at mondayhour1.com. If you want to learn more about me and my company, that's at vivere.co, or you can check out my podcast called The Effective Entrepreneur Podcast. And I love hanging out on Instagram. I'm pretty much, in the DMs there. So if you want to reach out there, it's at Vivereco.
Thanks so much for hanging out and listening to today's episode. If you were inspired by what you heard, I'd love if you shared it on social, give it a 5-star review on iTunes, and spread the word. But more than being inspired, I hope you're motivated to take action. Remember to just start. Take those steps today to get to where you want to be. And if you're ready to take your business to the next level, head on over to gethappypr.com and check out my agency and what we can do for you, or connect with me over on Instagram at Emily Rickett. That's Emily, Rickett. See you next time.